this webinar has far exceeded my anticipations. I guess the presentations have been so far been excellent. When Mila asked me to participate in this webinar, I came across a paper that was entitled "Data is Dead Without What-If Models." And this paper was written by a team of researchers at IBM. And what it seemed to say to me is that data not in the context of anticipation or vehicles for supporting anticipation of what the consequences might be of our actions is the historical record of the past is not very useful. This led me to think a little bit about anticipation, and I came to the realization that almost all beings, all actions that beings take, whether human beings or other species, involves anticipation. Anticipation in the sense that cause leads to effect. And cause leads to, in some sense, a predictable effect. By and large, this capacity for anticipation that seems to be embodied in all beings is a consequence of exploratory learning. We try things out, especially at early stages of development, and we learn about the response. And so we build into our nervous system these models of our understanding from cause to effect, but these models, in a sense, are hypotheses. We hold on to them as long as they work, and when we experience something that is counter to the hypothesis, we generally modify the hypothesis or our understanding. These kinds of mental constructs, if you like, have adapted over our evolutionary history, and they've obviously been very effective. And they're effective in what I would call local space and time. When the time interval between cause and effect is relatively short, we learn very well, and if it's within local space, we seem to learn and adapt. These mental models served us very well, served human beings very well, when we were when our population was low, relative to our environment, and our impact on the environment was negligible, and we could afford not to pay attention to the longer term and systemic consequences of what we were doing. That, however, is no longer the case. We have just recently come to realize in the age of the Anthropocene that the long-term and systemic consequences of what we collectively do is indeed an evolutionary force, and in fact the way that our Earth system will evolve is significantly influenced by what we decide to do. Human beings, probably greater than most species, have the capacity to abstract and communicate. And in fact, it's this capacity for abstraction and communication that has made our species a dominant species and indeed an evolutionary force. So in principle, we should be able to learn and adapt using these capacities, but we seem to have failed. We, by and large, are not very good at anticipating or understanding the long-term and systemic consequences of what we do, to the point now where even the survival of our species is being threatened. Why has it taken us so long to realize that we live in this age of the Anthropocene and that what we do is important? I think we had and have become accustomed to viewing our universe as one of many that is governed by universal and timeless laws. And we have devoted a great deal of science to the discovery of these timeless and universal laws. This effort has given us a great understanding of how some parts of the world work and have given us many powerful technologies. But it has blinded us to the fact that we are a part of, an important part of the Earth system, and that our future will be what we make it to be. The determinism of the dominant Newtonian scientific program has blinded us to the time-bound historical and evolutionary nature of the system of which we are a part. And I guess my point is that we must abandon the search for a small number of simple, timeless, and universal laws and recognize the complexity of the Earth system as it evolves to higher levels of order and the increasingly rich structures that emerge. In short, we must augment our powers of anticipation, just as we have augmented our powers to perceive with instruments like the telescope and the microscope that enable us to perceive things that are beyond the capacity of our sensory apparatus. In short, I think what is needed are devices, if you like, that begin to enable us to foresee and anticipate the longer-term and systemic consequences of what we do, and to be able to communicate that understanding such that effective collective action can be taken. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.